Energy is love. Energy is love. EnergyIsLovePodcast.com. That's where you can go and find all the episodes available. Find all the links to our wonderful sponsors. You can also go to the website and learn more about my wife and I and what we do as evolution coaches. So if you haven't been, by all means go. If you'd like to reach out to the podcast, contact us for any reason whatsoever. Maybe you want to be a guest. Maybe you want to shout out as far as what episode you loved and what you learned from it. Contact us through the website. There's a link, obviously, a tab. You just click contact, send us an email. Go to our Facebook page, Energy's Love Podcast, and follow us. Keep up to date with everything that we're doing with the show. We do a lot of fun things through the Facebook page, including some Facebook Live videos when we're out traveling around, or when I'm out traveling around, I should say. So if you haven't been to our Facebook page, go now. Hit subscribe, hit like, and spread the love when it comes to the podcast so that it can grow and expand and everybody else out there in the universe can benefit from all these amazing interviews and all these amazing experiences that I personally get to enjoy in. Remember, EnergyIsLovePodcast.com. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Stitcher, anywhere and everywhere the podcasts are available. You can find our show. So hit subscribe, listen, download, share it. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by one of our amazing sponsors, one of our wonderful sponsors, As Above, So Below, located in Roy, Utah. As Above, So Below is a wonderful little metaphysical shop where they have pretty much anything and everything you could possibly imagine for your metaphysical, spiritual journey into the cosmos. At As Above, So Below, you can find a variety of items, including tarot cards, incense, jewelry, smudging. If you're into smudging, they've got everything that you could possibly imagine for your smudging needs. As Above, So Below also hosts regular events and classes. Coming up on December 17th, they're going to have a spellcraft workshop, which is a wonderful opportunity for you to kind of dive into the realm of working with energy in regards to a variety of different ways. Go to their Facebook page, As Above, So Below, and you can find out more about this event as well as all the other ones that they put on a regular basis. And then show them some love when you pop into the store. Tell them that you heard about them on the Energy is Love podcast. I also want to talk about my beautiful wife and I, Stephanie. We're evolution coaches and we help people in the process of expanding where they're at and where they want to be, realizing and seeing some of the things where they get blocked, where they get stuck, some of their old behaviors and patterns that keep popping up in life. We bring awareness to them and then we help you in the process of shifting and evolving out of those experiences. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to work with you. You can find some of our information on the podcast website. Just click on the Craig and Steph tab. We also have a Facebook page. Reach out and contact us because truth is, everybody's always in a constant state of evolution. Bring awareness to it, realize it, see where you're blocked, see where you're being held back by your own shit, really. And then we can help you through that experience. On this episode, I had the wonderful opportunity to chat with Terry Murphy. Stephanie also joined in this episode, so that was a fun thing that we did. Terry lives up in Huntsville, Utah. If you're not familiar with that, it's up in the Ogden Valley. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. So we enjoyed going out and meeting with Terry. She's a coach. She's a mentor. She helps women mainly in the process of kind of moving through old patterns and stuck behaviors and really embracing a different way of looking at life. In this episode, we dived into a bunch of different things, and Terry was a wonderful guest and shared so many insights. One of the main things that we discussed during the episode, which you're about to listen to, is self-love and the importance of it and why people struggle in that space so often. So it's a good episode. Terry also does a bunch of other things. She's been a ski instructor for, I think she said like the past 20 or 30 years. So that was really fun to learn about and hear about. She also is responsible for putting on an annual event held up in the Ogden Valley. It's a hot air balloon festival that we briefly touch upon, but it was one of those experiences where we met Terry at the Law of Attraction Summit, set up the interview for the following week, and it was definitely an important interview to have. So sit back and relax. Oh, as always, go to the show notes and you'll find Terry's contact information. You can go to terrymurphyvitality.com. Reach out to her there. She's also on Facebook, of course, but check her out in the show notes and go follow her and like her and contact her if you're so inclined. But now sit back and relax and enjoy this beautiful interview. Wonderful episode with Terry Murphy. Here we go.
You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is the Love podcast.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is Love podcast.
The podcast for the universe.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Good morning, Terry.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm excited to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for taking the time. It's so beautiful. We love Huntsville.
Oh, it's a magical place.
Yeah. How long have you lived here? That's one of the things I wanted to ask you first off.
I've been up here for 20 years.
Are you originally from Utah?
No, I'm from California, raised between California and Washington in Park City. And I found this little location skiing, and I just fell in love. And I just went, this is where I want to live. This is where I want to raise my family. I laugh and jokingly say that I live on the edge of society because there's not too many people up here. But, you know, the air is clean. The skiing is amazing. The water's beautiful. I couldn't ask for a better space.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful valley. We love it up here.
Very much.
I forgot too before we started recording. I wanted to ask you because I forget your last name. So
Murphy,
Terry Murphy. That's going to be easy to remember. So Terry, we're going to dive right into it initially, right off the bat. We met at the Law of Attraction Summit over the weekend. Did you have a good time?
I really enjoyed that event. I really loved the feeling of everybody that was there, the willingness for them to grow and learn and expand and just take in everything that was going on at that event. It was great.
Had you ever been before?
No, that was my first time. I've seen the articles about it, and I saw all the list of the people that were presenting, and I just went, I have to see this. So I made the long drive all the way down there and really enjoyed it and met you guys. This was really exciting.
Yeah, it kind of worked out, huh?
Yes, it always does.
Yes.
One of the things, because I don't know a ton about you. We talked a little bit at the over the weekend at the summit and everything like that, and so we got a little bit of insight. With the podcast, the focus is mainly in regards to spirituality, the metaphysical, all those type of things, but we broaden it outwards, essentially people that are trying to help society or help people in some way, shape, or form live the best that they possibly can, and people that are out there serving in a sense. And but first off, when it comes to spirituality and crazy hippie metaphysical stuff, what is your background like? Do you have a background in that stuff? Is it things that you kind of just incorporated into your own life? Or
No, I have a very specific background. In 1987, I made a commitment to myself that I would be the very best energy that I could be, that I would show up for myself. And at that point, I began learning, and I learned from many, many, many different people. Took a whole bunch of different courses, started reading self-help books. I'm also a ski instructor, so I teach women on snow, and I realized that a lot of the things that were happening to them when they were out there skiing applied to their inner world. And I really wanted to see if I could take that experience of being on snow and take it out into the open public. So yes, I've spent a lot of time learning about core beliefs, learning about my life purpose, and my purpose is to be on the leading edge of shifting humanity into well-being. So anything that I can do to assist that with somebody is what I do. I specifically work with people's core beliefs, their emotional traumas, and we go inside and we undo the damage that has happened to them and bring them into a better space. And I'll do that in many different forms with many different modalities. Skiing is one of them.
I want to ask you about that.
Yes.
Because, like you said, sometimes things will come up for the people that you're helping and you're teaching when it comes to skiing. Why do you think that is? Like, does that space kind of force them into kind of questioning or, facing some of their difficult things?
Oh, this is a really easy one to answer. You put a pair of skis on a woman and put them on snow for the first time, and every part of their body language will light up. Every belief system that they have on the inside will display to me in their body language. And so by just simply taking a look at their posturing and how they stand, I can simply see what their emotional state is on the inside. And I always give these women an opportunity Do you want to change from the inside out or the outside in? And so as we start to address those emotions in their body language and how they stand and how they present themselves, they start to realize that those actions actually apply into the real world. It applies in the way they dialogue with their family, the way they dialogue with their self, the way they dialogue with their world. And when we can go in and simply change that, then they realize that they're making a lifelong change and that they're able to apply it everywhere else in their business world, their family world, everything that they show up for. But they have to become consciously aware of what those beliefs are and how they engage in them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges, I suppose, where a lot of times it is just bringing awareness to those issues and seeing them sometimes even from a different perspective or a different light. And a lot of times that helps initially make the shift and towards the direction of where they can start to, change, really evolve.
I have a mantra that I say to myself every day when I wake up, and that is, I am lovingly aware. And so as I go through the day, I become very aware of my inner thoughts. I become very aware of my patterns, and I become very aware of how I engage with others. And when I take a look at where I'm struggling, because I struggle, I mean, I'm a human.
Everybody does, yeah.
Yes, and it's really not my job to judge somebody else's humanity and judge their human lessons. It's my job to love them. My job to say, hey, you have a pattern here, and let's take a look at the pattern and let's not judge it. Let's just go to the beginning of that pattern and fix it. When we're dealing with things like rejection, or we're dealing with things, feelings of lack of self-worth, lack of safety, really, when you take a look at most women, they really don't feel safe. Somewhere in their childhood, there's been a trauma. Somewhere in their adult world, there's been a divorce. Somewhere along the path, they've lost that feeling of safety. And that's where we begin. Everyone has to have a space of feeling safe before they can start making any sort of transformation or change. The next part is they have to feel like they can control it. So those are the first steps that we take, especially on snow and in any off-snow program that I run, is I teach them how to feel safe. And it's not me, it's their own inner world. They have to become safe with themselves and safe with their environment. And then once that happens, all the senses start to relax, and then they're ready to start making a change. The next thing is, when you really look at it, what every woman wants is control. And so when we start teaching them how to control, not only on snow, but in their own emotional world, they realize that they have the choice to make in how they show up and how they respond and how they can control their emotions. And then from there, we have a really good solid platform to begin the transformation. Again, whether it's on snow or whether it's in the classroom with me. And it's really beautiful to watch these women start to become aware and start to wake up, and then they start to take control of their world. They're no longer just operating for the subconscious beliefs that they have. They've given their conscious mind the power to override their subconscious. And they start to take charge of themselves, and they start to make very dramatic changes. It's beautiful to watch. It's a beautiful unfolding.
I want to go back a little bit because the way you describe everything, and it's kind of, we're totally on par with, do you know what I mean? The kind of the work that we do and everything like that. And it makes complete sense. And I totally understand what you're saying. And it is a beautiful thing to kind of watch. But I want to go back. You said you grew up in California, in the Washington area and everything like that. When it came to your childhood, when it came to, I guess childhood is a perfect word to describe it. At what point in your life did you start to see, because like you said, almost everybody has experiences in their life that they've gone through that kind of shape and molded and given some of that baggage that they have to learn to clear and move through. At what point in your life did you kind of have the opportunity or the realization that, like, when did you start to kind of shift? Does that make sense?
When I was about 6 years old, I would have a repetitive dream. And the dream was of absolutely clear water It was just completely smooth. And then I would see something drop into the water and create a ripple effect. And the ripple effect would get bigger and bigger as it came farther away from the water, or from the drop. And at that point, that dream would happen to me over and over again, and I could never really grasp a hold of it. And when I went through my childhood, and it was turbulent, my parents, God bless them, they did the best they could. But as we take a look at the patterns that they learned, it was a very dysfunctional relationship. A lot of religious beliefs. Here we live in Utah, and our culture teaches our women to constantly question whether we are worthy enough. So I always went through my childhood questioning whether I was worthy enough. And then as abuse would set in, or outside events would happen to me, and the trauma would happen to me, I never thought I was enough. And so it was a series of changes. And then at the age of 19, my religious beliefs totally changed. And I knew that I was in a religious structure that I had to get out of. It was something that my family was very, very well committed to, but I did not feel aligned with it.
What religion was it like? What were you brought up as?
I was brought up LDS.
Yeah.
And at 19, I started smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day to get out of church. Now, that's total rebellion. And you know, my parents were just like, no, we can't take you to church like that. And I'm like, yes, my goal was achieved. And, you know, I didn't have the power inside of me to say, this isn't right for me, because there was so many dualities going on in my world and in my thought process, and I had to do whatever I could to get away from it. So I think most young women at that point go through that stage of really questioning, were the beliefs that we were brought up with, are they going to work for us in our adult worlds? And I realized that I was starting to mimic my parents' patterns, and they weren't happy. And my goal was to somehow heal myself so that I could achieve a level of happiness and a level of joy and peace in my inner world. And so, yes, at 19, everything fell apart for me. 19, 20, 21 to 22, 23. I think that is probably maybe the hardest stages for a young woman, especially if they don't have a mentor to come in and say, it's okay. You don't know your path yet, and you don't have to. Your path will unfold. Just make a commitment to where you would like to be. I had a mentor tell me, always look for your exit plan. Always plan your exit plan. Always look for your desired result. And I think of it as a target. And when I get really clear about my intention about what I would like, which is to be able to help others, to also be very clear within myself, to be able to create a dialogue that can really touch people's hearts and really make a difference in their world, I put a very clear outcome on my target. And it's almost like drawing a line back from my target back to me. It gives me a very clear path. I know the direction that I'm headed. I know where I would like to end up. And so when I started learning that, I got very clear about writing out my desired outcomes. And I would always write them in the present state. I am this. I'm experiencing that. And when I take a look at my vision board, I look at the things that I wrote in 2013, and I take a look at where I'm at now, and I can cross them off and just go, wow, that happened. I got very clear about my desired outcome, and then I worked backwards, and then I started taking the steps towards achieving what it was I was looking for. And for me, it's not necessarily about material gain. It's about the way I feel. It's about the way I show up. It's about the way I engage the people around me and the type of people that are around me and how I can influence those people in a positive way. So when I take a look at that, that's the most important part of my world. And when I can watch somebody and have their heart light up because of something that I unintentionally did, just because I showed up, I was willing to be there, then I know I achieved something special. That's an important part for me.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So when you said that you made a decision to show up for yourself,
Yes.
that's big.
I took, when we start to hear my story, when I was younger, I had a weight issue. And as a ski instructor, and I've skied for 45 years, and I've been on snow as an instructor for over 20 years, the majority of my ski industry, I was 75 pounds overweight. And it's really hard to ski at the level I ski with that extra weight.
Yeah.
And I tried everything. I mean, 320 consecutive days of working out and eating a caloric intake of anywhere from 1,000 to 1,400 calories a day. And I hit a wall, and I couldn't break through that. And so my body started to break down. And then from there, I went into liquid diets. I couldn't move the weight. And so showing up for myself meant I needed to love myself first. I had to go inside and fix me from the inside out. So I had to make a commitment to me. I had to make a commitment to me saying, I can stand in front of that mirror and say, I love you. And then why? Why do I love myself? And I'm going to be honest with you, the people that I asked to do that really, really struggle with that. And it took me 3 master classes to be able to comfortably do that, and a lot of practice. And now it's a daily routine for me. If you can express self-love and you can show up for yourself, then you're ready to show up for the rest of the world. And so I have daily practices, and it is including a daily journal. And when we take a look at creating momentum of self-love, today was 1,211 consecutive days of me writing in my journal, I love you, and why. And then I think it's really, really important that you experience pleasure throughout your day, and you program that into your day. So I also write down what I experienced that's pleasurable. And since I'm in business, I also write down any success that I had that day in business. And then 3 statements of gratitude. What am I really grateful for? And as you do that and you grow that practice, you get to experience bigger and bigger levels of gratitude. I remember when I first started doing the self-love exercise, it was something as simple as, oh, I love that I painted my toenails. Okay, it was that basic. And now after I've practiced that, I can say, I love that I consciously showed up today and I moved through a difficult situation using peace, kindness, and love. And really taking that level of awareness into my world. So it is a discipline. You have to make the commitment to love yourself before you can really show up for anybody else.
It's such a huge thing, self-love. And I think at the end of the day, people have, we can label it in 1,000 different ways as far as the things that people struggle with and the things that people have to overcome in a sense in order to find happiness in their life and joy and all those type of things. But I think at the core of it, self-love is kind of one of the biggest key factors, where if you can start to practice it, if you can learn how to kind of master it, and like you said, it's a daily practice. It's something that you really have to kind of get into the routine of doing, almost force yourself at times, especially if you're coming from a place of, really the opposite of self-love. And, but tell me your thoughts about why do you think it is that way? Because it makes sense. And you talk to people about it and they understand it, just nobody knows how to do it. So if you look at society as a whole and the way that society struggles with that, because it's not something that's really taught, it's not something that's really displayed. Do you know what I mean? God bless all of our parents, but they did the best that they could at the time. So why do you think that at some point in time we distanced ourselves from that in such a way to where now it's so difficult for people to really get back to that place?
I've watched the media. I've watched our small young girls think that they have to be a certain way. They have to live in this perfect glamour image in order to be accepted. So I think in a very young age, young women learn how to reject themselves. that's when the first belief of rejection happens, is we reject ourselves. We reject our beauty. We reject who we are, the innocence that we are, and somehow we give that away. And when we give that away, we start this inner dialogue of focusing on what's wrong with us, because that's what society wants us to do. They want us to have that small mind instead of stepping into the inner greater mind, which allows us to see the beauty of who we are. And then I believe that a lot of times people, they won't take the time to really go inside and see what's right with them. And when I do, I also train ski instructors. And one time we did this practice where we had the new instructors come in to sit down at a table with us. And it was just a very casual environment, and it was fun. And they didn't know that we were doing this, but we asked them to simply state something that they liked about themselves. The majority of the instructors had a hard time doing that. And we're talking, adults here. And when you say, wow, what's really going on inside that mind that you can't find something that you can say out loud to a very small group of people that you like about yourselves, that tells me that they've really shut themselves down. They've forgotten that they are these beautiful creatures that came into this world to be something spectacular, for their light to shine, to show up for themselves, to be a part of this amazing world. And they've shut down. And if we can find some way to flip that light switch back on and tell them, hey, you really are this spectacular being because I can see it. And if I can hold that space for you, and that's what my coaches and mentors do for me, they hold this space for me to be the very best I can be, and they guide me into it. They help me overcome every hurdle that keeps me from being the very best I can be. And if we can all do that for each other, man, society would be amazing, wouldn't it?
It would be nice.
Yeah. Instead of going in, I believe we have two minds. We have the smaller mind and we have the inner greater mind. And the smaller mind is the mind that wants to be in competition and wants to blame others and experience jealousy and experience the negative thought forms. And when I take a look at how that affects me on a physical level, it really does affect me on a cellular level. It shrinks my cells. They become congested. And then when I can go into my greater mind, that mind that's connected to source, that mind that says, I can see the light in you, or I can see the beauty in you, and I can see the divine plan in this lesson that I'm learning, even if it is painful and even if it is hard, and even if I want to blame the other people in my world. But I take the moment to say, no, this is about love. And I just choose that. And then I choose that it's self-love. Even when it's hard, those lessons sometimes when they come and they hit us on our blind side and they wake us up, it's really our soul saying, hey, this lesson has a reason for you. It's a growth. And if you can just get to the golden nugget and you just can see the divine plan that there is there for you, then you can avoid the pain. Or you'll experience the pain. That's what starts the lesson. But you'll get through the pain quicker, and you'll get to the other side of it so much quicker. And so we just forget that we're these amazing beings. We forget that we were sent here to show up and to spread our light and our joy and to be happy. That's our right. And it all starts with loving ourselves. It doesn't happen from any outside environment. Now, needless to say, I live in this spectacular place and it's absolutely beautiful and it's gorgeous. And one of my mentors told me when she was teaching me meditation, she said, Terry, is your environment meditating for you? Because I'd always set up these really spectacular places. And she says, the goal is for you to be able to hold that level of thought in the most difficult times. And so then I would start to go out into the world and sit next to the freeway and meditate. Or next, my least favorite place was the airport as the planes were flying in. And to say, yes, I can be at peace on the inside It's not my environment that provides the space for me, but it's truly from the inside. So it is from the inside out. And when you start to get to the space where, we have doing, having, and being, and you get to the space where you're being and you're being happy, then you become really radiant and you start to attract all those beautiful life desires that are just there for you to have. And you just simply step into them. It's amazing when things just go into a state of flow and things show up and you just go, wow, I'm just in awe. Just like meeting you,
Yeah.
That was just one of those events that you just went, okay, this was a divine plan. I'm supposed to do this. All I have to do is show up and just speak my truth and share with whoever is willing to hear it. So, and that's my goal. That's my intention behind this, is that I can touch somebody's heart and that I can reach in there and hopefully show them a pathway. Hopefully my experience will be influencing others. It will give them a way to be able to make the next right step for themselves.
Well, there's a couple things I want to ask you about. Because essentially you coach people, you help people through that process, some of the things that you're talking about, that kind of the realization of self-love and the importance of it. But you also mentioned a couple times that you've had mentors and coaches. Why do you think that is because I think that a lot of times it's a misnomer, especially people that are seeking out help from, whether it's a coach or if they go to somebody for some sort of energy work or healing session or something like that, that person somehow has everything figured out, that person somehow is in some place where they've reached some higher transcendence and they're, do you know what I mean, completely enlightened or whatever the case may be. And I think that's a big misnomer. I think that, because we obviously, Steph and I, when we work with clients, it's not like we have everything figured out. We still are in the process of practicing life. And we've had people on the podcast before that, that's just not a reality. And so if you could speak on the importance of getting help, regardless of kind of what phase or at what point you're at in life, and the benefits that you can get from it.
I've had a whole series of mentors, and the mentors that I look for are the mentors that are willing to teach me to the point where I can teach them. I honestly believe that the student has to become the teacher and the teacher has to become the student somewhere in this exchange. I look for people that are ready to teach me something very specific that I'm looking for. But the process is about creating sustainability, not a dependence. And I think there's a lot of coaches and mentors out there that want you to become dependent upon them. In my process, that's the least thing I ever want them to experience. I want them to become sustainable. So I guide them into a space of sustainability. And then at that point, when they reach that, they get to teach me. They get to share what they've learned with me. And then I know that we've completed the cycle. But at any point when somebody thinks that I am greater than, let me show you. I've got some flaws. That's why I still get mentored. I don't believe that you're a good mentor unless you're being mentored. And I'm really specific about the people I choose as my mentors. Their goal is to help me create the desired outcome that I'm looking for and hold that space and guide me into that space. And then once I've reached that space, we celebrate my arrival and then we send me on to the next mentor for the next lesson. So I've had a whole list of mentors, some very, very powerful people that I've worked with one-on-one in many different industries. It's not just about my spirituality, but it's about my business sense. It's about my physical well-being. Am I learning how to eat correctly? Am I learning how to exercise correctly? Meditation. I have great mentors that teach me about meditation. Even writing. I take a look at every aspect of myself. If you really want to grow, do a life inventory. Go through all those aspects and say, okay, where's my strong points and where could I use a mentor? And choose a mentor for that. Even if it's financial, choose a mentor for that. Choose somebody that has made those steps in front of you. I think the best analogy that I've ever experienced is I did a ropes course. And we had 17 in our program. And
explain real quick, because I know what a ropes course is, but for the listener out there that may not understand.
Oh, ropes courses are mind expanding. They send you out with a group in the wilderness with all these obstacles. And the obstacles really have very specific purposes to bring you into awareness, into a desired result. And I think one of the biggest obstacles I had is they took 17 of us and stood us in front of a wall that was 14 feet high. And they gave us 2 minutes to talk and how we were going to figure out how to get over this 14-foot wall. And needless to say, all 17 of us were like, oh, And then 2 minutes was up. We didn't have a game plan.
Yeah.
And so individually, we all looked at that 14-foot wall. And when I looked at that wall, I went, there is no way I'm going to get over that wall. I'm only 5'6". I can't reach the top. And at that point, we were all looking at the wall from a space of individuality. And there was no way any of us were going to get over that wall by ourselves. And then at one point, one of the gentlemen started leading the group. He took a hold of the group and he got a very clear intent. And we started to talk to each other just by using our hands. And we started to realize that if we could put the younger, lighter people up first, and then we could sequentially move our way through the group until we got to the heavier, bigger person. And then we left our tallest man at the bottom, and we had our largest men at the top who could pull that person up. We all got over the 14-foot wall. And what the lesson of that was is you never do this alone. You create a support team that is so strong that you have no other choice but to succeed. Not only did all 17 of us get over that wall, we learned how to work together, and we set a course record. It was one of those experiences that have stuck with me. So I never do anything alone. Whenever I take on a business, whenever I take on a fitness goal, whenever I take on a spiritual goal, I do it with a team, and I'm very specific about my team. We all have the same desired outcome. We all pull together. We all lift each other up. We all work together. No judgment, just love. And then we pull each other through to the point where we're achieving our goals. And so, so many people are out there trying to do it on their own. You can't. I mean, you can, but it's hard.
You can try.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think that's one of the biggest, for me personally, I think that's one of my beliefs. Well, I don't think, that is one of my beliefs as far as why we're here on this planet, is for those relationships, is for the ability to connect with one another and benefit from it because of the energy exchange that happens and all those kind of things. But it really just helps. Do you know what I mean? The aspect of you is going to help blossom something inside of me and vice versa and all those kind of things. And so I think you're right. I think it's important to have help and to seek help. And I don't know, because I'm guilty of it over the years where I'll struggle in that space of, I'm just convinced I can do it all by myself, and you get lost in your own gunk and you don't want any help. And I think a lot of times it's the shame because people don't want other people to see, or they think they'll see and be judged and all that kind of stuff. But it's confusing. It's frustrating. And I wish that more people would be willing to accept help. And, at the end of the day, when they finally do, then they realize, I think.
Oh, for sure. In fact, in part of my process of creating a healthy lifestyle, I had to take a look at every area that I experienced fear and guilt in. And I just recently read a book that said fear and guilt is at the core of every illness. And if we could just simply go, what am I afraid of? It's really not that big of a deal. Who can I have help me with this? Or where do I feel guilty? Why am I feeling guilty? And take a look at that and go into those deeper parts of ourselves. A lot of times these emotions happen when we're very, very young. Our subconscious mind is created from birth on. And something that happens to us, and believe me, my 4-year-old, me, created some beautiful beliefs. And I lived through them for 50 years.
Yeah.
And some of them I just barely woke up to and went, wow, that happened when I was just a small child. And here they are, here it is. And I think one of my biggest beliefs that I really had to struggle through is feeling wanted. And I didn't realize the pattern of that until just recently. And when I was able to take that not feeling wanted out of my world and feeling accepted, my whole world changed. Absolutely changed.
What was the pattern like? How did it show up for you that you were able to kind of recognize and bring awareness to?
Oh, it started as, I was raised with 2 boys, 2 brothers. And for me, my mother's birth was my birth was very traumatic. There was questions whether I should be born or not. And so that's when it really began for me. In utero, that feeling of, am I wanted or not? Am I going to live or not? And then I came into the world and I started to see I was a female in a very, my brothers, God bless them, I love them both. They were just duplicating what they knew, questioned my strength and ability as a female. And I tried to live through the opposite of that. And then as I got into school, a young girl is always trying to fit in. They're always trying to find, where am I wanted? And then when I started dating, and then when I went into my business world, and then when I went into my marriage, and it really showed up stronger in my marriage because those beliefs, they get stronger and stronger the older you get. And then as I went through my divorce and as I went through a bankruptcy, I'm human, okay? I had to go through these lessons, and thank God that I did. Even sexual abuse was a part of my past. And as I constantly saw the pattern of not feeling wanted and wondering if anybody would ever want me because I felt broken. And as I was able to shut that off and actually step into a space of acceptance and knowing that I was loved, my whole world changed. And that was a part of my self-love program as well, is realizing the areas that pattern duplicated and not judging myself for it. Just knowing that there was a situation that happened in my childhood that created a belief. I'm able to shut off that belief. I'm able to put in a new belief. It's that simple. But you have to take a look at the pattern. And so part of the process is looking at the symptoms that you have, really looking at them very clearly, and then saying, what would I be without that symptom? What would be my desired outcome if I were able to shut that off? And usually when we start to take a look at our symptoms, we see our beliefs. We see them showing up. And questioning whether I'm wanted, questioning whether I'm worthy enough, or feelings of rejection. And another big one is victimhood and not feeling safe, are some really, really big common beliefs that a lot of women live through. And when they can take a look at that and see the patterns throughout their lives, then they will start to become aware, and then they can start to make a big change. So those are just some very basic society beliefs that we come into this world with. I mean, we all have our individual beliefs that we have that we're living through as well. It's what creates our world. And so if something isn't functioning in your world, take a look at your belief system and shut it off. Choose something different.
A couple of things that pop into my head. First off, do you mainly work with women for the most part?
That's primary who I work with, but yes, I do work with men as well. It depends on, what the symptom is. I believe that some men are best to work with other men. So I'm very specific when I work with a man. But yes, I've worked with addiction, and I've worked with grief, and I've worked with insecurities and control. But I have to be, honestly, I have to be a good fit, or I'm not going to be effective. Yeah. So I really, really screen, all of my clients to make sure that I'm a good fit. Because, I see this in the coaching world, and I've seen it. And believe me, I've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on coaching. And there are times when I've went, wow, I didn't get the desired outcome, but I spent a lot of money. And so I had to question myself, was I really the right fit for that mentor? And so you really have to question me as a mentor to make sure that I can be effective with my client. Am I the right fit? And if I'm not, I have a whole list of mentors to send them on to. And I will make that recommendation. Maybe that's not my specialty. It's not about the dollar. It's about healing. Mm-hmm. It's about making sure that people are achieving their desired outcome. And if I can't get them there, I'm going to send them to somebody else. Either one of my other mentors or some of the other people that I work with. would be more than happy to take on some of their specialty issues. So, I can cover a fairly good range, but there's things I'm not an expert at that I'm still being mentored at, and so I'd be more than happy to refer those people out.
Because one of the things that I'm sitting here thinking about, because you're talking about a lot of common issues that you find probably when you're working with clients, but I think you're right in regards to society as a whole. There's a lot of these things that just continually people deal with, like the feeling of security and self-worth, and feeling like a victim, and where do I fit in, and all those kind of different things. And I think that men, specifically, like in general, they deal with the exact same things. But they choose to call it something different, and then they also have a difficult time really connecting with it. So a lot of times when you want to go in and do not just deep belief work in regards to your past, but because that brings up so many emotions and so much stuff, women I think are more suited for it and more willing to do it, and men are just in that space. And that's one of the things that I would like to see change. I know that for me personally, it has been and I'm sure Steph has sat along and watched me in that space of like trying to tap into that emotion and being able to connect and resonate with it, so that I can not just bring awareness to some of those things, because all the stuff that you're talking about in regards to not just your past, but the things that you'll work with people, I struggle in those same areas. Where do I fit in, and how do I belong, and what's my self-worth, and do I really love myself, and all those kind of different things. But the willingness to really accept the conversation, I guess, about it with myself has made the biggest difference over the years, and helped me in the process of my path and my journey and being in that space. But one of the things I want to talk about as well, or I want to ask you about, because we talk about a lot of these things. These are stuff that we're talking about now in this conversation. We've had conversations about this on previous podcasts, and to a certain extent, in way, shape, and form. At the core of it, shifting and changing really is easy on one hand, but then people get stuck thinking that. So tell me, I do this all the time. I get thinking too fast in my head.
I see where you're headed, though.
And then try to formulate a thought. But it takes time, and people don't want to invest that time. People think that it needs to be either a quick fix, or they can wrap their minds around committing to 3 months or to 6 months, or if we push it out and it's a really, really big belief change and I'm going to really, really see some benefits from it, maybe I can invest a year's worth of my time and energy. But tell me from your experience, not just personally, but from working with people, when it comes to real evolution and change of your life, how long does it take?
Everybody controls the speed of their change. It's up to them. I've seen, and I'm on the path of rapid change. So when we watch me change, I change very quickly because I agree to that. That's my desire. My desire is to see the pattern and get to the other side of it as quickly as I can. So we have practices that can change the rate of your transformation. It all depends on the level of commitment. When I work with a client, I ask them, really quickly, how committed are they? And usually what will happen is I can take my clients and put them into 3 different categories. The first client will come to me and say, oh, I'm in pain. Let's just fix the pain. And then you put a Band-Aid on them and you send them on. And then they come back, oh, I'm same pain. You put a Band-Aid on it. And they're not committed to their change. The next client will come and say, well, gee, I am in pain and I'd like to heal it. So you will start the healing process, and it will be a slow process. But if you come to me and you say, I'm in pain, I'm ready to heal, and I'd like to make a transformation, that's a completely different process. And that's when I show up. Those are the clients that are saying, I am committed to getting to the other side of this. So your rate of change happens based on your level of commitment. You can control that. It's really simple. There's 10 steps, really 10 steps to being able to say, I'm going to be on the accelerated path, or I am going to be on the slow boat to China path, and I'm going to enjoy every ounce of this pain, and I'm going to make it so slow. I have people in my world that I watch them take the slowest path to their transformation, and I watch how painful it is for them. And it's almost like they just love to experience the pain, or they think that everything has to be painful. And then I watch clients that will take a belief and they will switch it off, and within a week, they're on the other side of it. And they are realizing the manifestation of a new belief. And that's part of the process that I do, is I make sure that you track and you create momentum of the new belief, that it shows up, that you experience it, and that you create more and more and more momentum. And when you start to create momentum, that's when you are able to make a change very rapidly. But if you are on the slow boat to China and experiencing the pain, it's going to be a slow process. So it all depends on your level of commitment. When I showed up, I committed 100% all in that I would do whatever it takes to be the very best, very, very best person I can be. That I would show up for myself and make that commitment. And you know, you'll see it in other aspects in my world. You know, I believe that I can overcome just about everything, even if it's tough. And, you know, if it's something that I'm really struggling at, boom, I bring in a team. I bring in mentors. And I say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm very open and honest with myself. If it's not working and I can fix it, we'll fix it. And I'll bring in the people that will help me do that. So when you take a look at change, look at your commitment. If you're 100% all in, you're going to change rapidly. But if you're like, maybe today and tomorrow I'm going to eat that donut, and I'm not going to love myself, and I'm going to look in the mirror and say, oh my God, you know, this and this and this and this is wrong with me, your level of commitment's not very high.
Do you think it could go, do you think it goes, maybe it plays a different role in a deeper aspect where they don't have the belief that they can change?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so then you kind of have to pick apart and see where that belief originated from and what it's connected to and the correlation to it. Because a lot of people are in that space where they might hope and they might want, but at the core, they don't really believe that they can. Mm-hmm. And then, like, how do you address that? Do you know what I mean? How do you walk them through that process?
That belief usually starts out with, I am worthy. Usually when they are lacking the ability to make a change, there's a self-worth issue there. They don't feel value in their own world. And we start there. That's the platform. After we've created the safety and we've given them the level of control, we take a look at their commitment to their own self-worth. When we take a look at somebody that, and I love this example because, you know, I'm the living example of this, that diet and exercise did not work for me. And I honestly believe, and I was 100% committed to that. Mm-hmm. Okay, really, really, really committed to that, to the point where, you know, I was showing up for myself and I was really, really frustrated. The level of commitment I didn't make was my own inner world, my own self-love. And so it's really important to make a commitment to yourself first. And as you do that and you write your desired result, then you go into a space of allowing it to happen. Angels will show up for you. Miracles happen. People will pop up into your world and go, let me help you. But you have to make the commitment. You have to say to yourself, the pain I'm experiencing is so bad that I can't do this anymore. And when you ask about men, yes, the path is very much so the same, but men are not allowed the full range of emotions that women are. So there's a definite gateway for a man. Usually it's anger. Usually once you start walking through the path of anger and then you get into guilt and shame, you start to find where they're blocked. And if they're willing to walk through the fire of guilt and shame and anger to get to the other side, they can make a transformation. But for us women, we get the whole plethora. And it's easy to say, oh, I feel this and I feel that. But for a man, you're usually allowed one or two feelings, which is fear, anger, and guilt. And if you can start to look at those areas of where you're really, really angry and take a look at the symptoms, or where you're really afraid, and take a look at the symptoms, or where you feel guilt, you'll find your patterns. That's your pathway. For women, hey, we got a full rainbow of experiences we can bring up.
Yeah, they definitely get the whole spectrum. We've got 3 teenage girls, and so
Oh, bless you.
yeah, they do a wonderful job of giving us the entire spectrum of emotion from sometimes, minute to minute.
Oh, yes. Yes. So women have that ability to tap into their emotions very quickly, very, very quickly. But it's really knowing what those emotions mean that, is something that's really valuable for a female. You have to know why you're having that experience. What is the lesson behind this? Why do I feel this way? And for a man, if you just simply take a look at those 3 simple emotions, anger, fear, and guilt, then you can start to go, oh, okay, there's my pathway. You don't have to go through the full range that we get to experience.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think about the way that I work, and I try to feel the full spectrum of emotion. I try to experience, all the different nuances and things like that in regards to my emotion and my connectedness to my heart and things like that. But a lot of times I will, either good or bad, get stuck in one aspect of it, or I don't know, maybe I brush the surface of a specific emotion and then transition out of it rather than staying in it longer than I should.
I've been reading the book of, what's the title of it again? Letting Go. In the art of surrendering. And when you can surrender into your emotions, when you can allow it to happen and just be with it and just go, okay, today I'm feeling fear. What's behind it? Or today I am feeling sad. What's behind it? What is the reason? What is the purpose of this? This just showed up for me to show me something. Then you become more aware of it, and you can actually sit in it. And then if you can't get out of it and you're aware of it, then you call another mentor. You always should have a mentor in your life in some aspect, some way. There should be somebody guiding you, moving you through, just for that level of support, just knowing that you're not alone, that you are connected. We are beings that are supposed to be connected to each other. And when I see somebody that's isolating themselves, there's usually a lack of self-worth, a lack of believing in themselves. And those are the people that, we grab a hold of and we just give them a hug and say, I love you. And, all is well. And you're going to get to the other side of this. And life is meant to be a beautiful space. It is meant to, from the moment your feet hit the floor when you're getting out of bed, to be amazing. It's meant to be something that's enjoyable. We're not here to experience pain, but we do have it. It's a lesson for us. And when we do have it, I know this is going to sound odd. Be thankful, because you're going to grow from it. You're going to learn. So when you're experiencing pain, the moment you can say, oh, thank God you showed up. What am I here to learn? Why are you here? And take time to be with it, and then surrender. Surrender into it. There will always be a golden nugget there for you.
Yeah. Practice. It takes so much practice. But I want to ask you as well, because one of the things that you mentioned, like I said, we did get to chat a little bit at the conference or at the summit over the weekend and everything like that. You're involved with the balloon festival that takes place up here. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, because we've actually never been to it before. It's one of those things that I've seen it. Tell us about it, because it's a cool event that takes place every year up here.
Oh, it's spectacular. The Autumn Valley Balloon and Artist Festival is something that I inherited about 3 years ago. And I believe that everybody should be able to write their own job description. So this is a part of my job description. I get to do things I love, and I'm passionate about hot air balloons. And when I first ended up with the event, I had never ran a big event, never. And I'm like, oh, how do I do this? And I went, okay, Terry, what's your desired outcome? Reverse engineer this event. So I got a hold of the finances from the previous events and started to take a look at how it was ran before. And, I've moved locations and changed the event up here and there, but it is a 3-day event. We started with probably about maybe 9,000 people attending the first year I brought it back, and now we're up to about 16,000 people. And it starts off, well, for me, I start off with bringing in special people that open up sacred space. When we open up sacred space for the event, I'm really clear about how I would like my people that are working the event to experience it, how I would like my vendors to experience it, and how I'd like to have my people that are attending it experience it, and how I'd like to have my pilots experience it, and how I personally would like to experience with the event. So I get very clear, again, about creating sacred space and making sure that it's a safe event. And then we go into building the infrastructure, which means all my hardscape goes in, my stage, my porta potties, all of those things happen. And that's my favorite space, because I watch this blank field turn into a very small city. And it takes me about 2 days to create this small city. And then the vendors come. And then the stage goes up. And then we open. And when we open, again, it's another quick blessing on the event to make sure that everybody's safe and that they have an amazing experience. And then we go into the first balloon launch. So Friday morning, we do 15 hot air balloons that go up. And it's our media launch, and it's beautiful. It's so spectacular. When these balloons hit that blue sky, it's so colorful. And if you've never ridden in a hot air balloon, it is... you just get a whole different perspective on life. And then we go through 3 morning launches. So Friday, Saturday, and morning, we have 15 hot air balloons that go up. And then we have our vendors. We're working towards a healthy lifestyle type of event. So you'll see everything from sounding bowls, which is my favorite booth. I have a booth that comes in with 19 sounding bowls. And at 7 a.m. when the balloons are launching, they set off the sounding bowls. And again, they carry the intention of my event. They help me hold the space. And then we go into artists and vendors, and we have artists come up and teach watercolor classes, and we have performers on the stage, and we have dancers come up, and it's just really fun. So Friday evening, we have the performers come up, and then we have a balloon glow. Now, sometimes we can pull off an evening launch. Evening balloon launches are kind of difficult because of the wind and weather. So if we can pull off a balloon launch, we'll put balloons up then. But the balloon glows, oh, that's my favorite. That's when a balloon, it's dusk, and the balloons will line up, and they'll stay anchored. And I usually have a big band on the stage, and the balloons will glow. So they take the propane, and they open up the torch, and you'll see these balloons just illuminated at night with an amazing band on stage. And then we do that for Friday and Saturday night. And then our Sunday morning launch it's more quiet. A lot of the vendors have started to break down. And we'll do our final launch on a Sunday morning. So it's an amazing event. We do a lot of philanthropic endeavor in there because I honestly believe that it's really important to give back to the community. So we have a breakfast that's sponsored by the Ogden Homeless Shelter. So all the proceeds for those breakfasts go back into helping people that are coming out of prison from drug issues. And there's a program that we specifically help contribute to. And we've just given them the space to come up and they just take care of it. And they have a great breakfast. So it's a spectacular event.
When is it each year?
It's usually the 3rd week of August. Next year it's going to be August 18th, 19th, and 20th. And it's up here at Eden Park. Now, sometimes, we move it around because the event keeps on growing. Mm-hmm. And so as the event grows, you just go, okay, what vessel is going to hold it this year?
Yeah.
And so next year for 2017, it will be at the Eden Park. So we have some spectacular sponsors. We're really thankful for RAMP. All of you that live in Utah and you contribute your tax funds, a portion of that goes in to support this event. Ogden Regional is one of my big sponsors, and then we have a whole series of small sponsors, corporations that are willing to come and throw money at the event because it is an event that's free for the public. It's real important that everybody can attend this event. I want to make sure that, everybody can get the exposure and come up, and the kids just love it.
Yeah.
We do a tethered balloon ride. Thank you, Remax, for bringing up your balloon. And it's free to the public. And so, for those, because I only have 15 hot air balloons, and it's really hard to put everybody that wants to go up on a hot air balloon ride in those balloons because it's a limited space, and the expense of the balloons is pretty expensive. So we bring in a tethered balloon ride so everybody can have the experience of going up in a hot air balloon. And it's tethered. You go up maybe 60, 70 feet in the air, but you get the experience of going up. And the kids love it. It's just spectacular. So it's something that I'd have to say I'm really fortunate that I get to do. I'm really fortunate that my community supports me in doing this, and that I have an amazing team of people, because the volunteer staff that comes together to put off this event is massive, and just their willingness to show up and participate just warms my heart. So yeah, I feel truly blessed to be able to be a part of this event and to be the chairperson of it, and all these people just come in and help out, and we make it happen.
That's awesome. It sounds incredible. We'll definitely have to make it. I don't know why we've never been before. It seems like August is always a busy month, obviously, with different things, but it sounds way, way cool. Terry, it's been amazing getting to chat with you and getting to learn more about you and everything like that. It's such a cool thing. Like you said, it's one of those things where we met over the weekend at the summit and everything like that. Obviously, we needed to come up and do an interview. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for letting me share. I really hope that whoever's out there listening to this gleans something from what we've had in this dialogue that helps benefits them in some way, that they get to grow and their life is changed by something that we've said. So I'm hoping those out there that listen, shout us out if you've gotten something from this that helped. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to learn more or contact you, or what's the best way? I have a website called terrymurphyvitality.com. And you can reach me at, it's TERRYMURPHY vitality.com, or I have an email address. It's info@terrymurphyvitality.com. That website tells a little bit more about a program that I run that's called Create the Body You Love and Keep It. It's a story about my weight loss, but it's the best way to reach me if you want to do even one-on-one coaching for other areas. I travel all over the state to do skiing. And if you're interested in skiing with me, believe me, it's really fun. We do classes like Taming Your Inner Critic. We have a really good time. It is a fun program. I'm also based out of Nordic Valley Ski Resort, which is this really small little resort, but I am Deer Valley trained and Snow Basin trained, and, I ski all the resorts, but it's the resort that allows me to be me, and they support my program. So I'm so thankful that, not only are they one of my sponsors for the Balloon Fest, and so is Powder Mountain, and so is Snow Basin. So I get to merge all of my passions into one environment there, but that would be another way to reach me as well. Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And everybody go out and have a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful day. This is about love. They've given their conscious mind the power to override their subconscious. I am lovingly aware. We're not here to experience pain, but we do have it. It's a lesson for us. And when we do have it, be thankful, because you're going to grow from it. You're going to learn.